I'm going to show you two of the most interesting e-mountain bikes available today. The 36-pound Specialized Levo SL and the 36-pound Orbea Rise. So they are fascinating bikes because they bridge the gap between traditional analog bikes and all these new e-mountain bikes, 50-pound super powered beasts that have every manufacturer now participates in. So it sits right in the middle. And why is it important? It's because not everyone wants all the power, all the weight of those big e-mountain bikes. You know, some people want something closer to what they are familiar with, something that just gives them a helping hand in all the steepest climbs so they can ride day after day. What we have here is the Specialized Levo SL, and what they brought to market is a 36-pound bike at the very expensive S-Works level, 14,500. So instead of 90 Newton meters of torque, they give you 35. To answer the call of this bike, it's the Orbea Rise, 11,000 bucks, and what they give you is a 36-pound bike. They put a different approach on the motor. They used an existing motor, the very latest from Shimano, called the EP8. They call it the EP8 RS, and they just tuned it down. They tuned it down because they felt it was light enough, and by tuning it down, you can extend the motor range. But instead of 35 Newton meters of torque, you have 150 on a horse link bike, and this is 140. What we're gonna tell you about, is how do they ride, how do they climb, first of all, and how do they corner, how do they descend, what is their range. So we're gonna try to answer all these questions for you. So 11,000, 14,500 as they sit. So the number one question really is, how is the power? 35 Newton meters is better than an analog bike, but it's barely enough to keep up with anyone who's on a normal e-bike, unless you're a lot stronger than them. So, and the other issue with this bike is when you're at the limit, meaning you're trying to start up, it doesn't give you all its 35 Newton meters of torque. It gives you maybe, 15 or 20. It wants you to get it started yourself. What it does is it kind of gives you a little bit just so you can spin the cranks and crawl, but you can't go that fast. This one, on the other hand, has 60 Newton meters torque. 60 Newton meters is a lot, and it really feels like an E8000 bike, the predecessor of Shimano, and it's a lot of torque, and it gives it to you when you need it. The torque sensor is so good that it is very responsive. It turns on and shuts off very quickly, so it feels more natural. It can support you and assist you in biking. How about noise? So noise, remarkably, so the Levo is very popular, the brother of this one, because it is so quiet. This one is a little bit more noisy. It doesn't use a belt. It uses gears for compactness and reliability. So there's a little bit of noise there. For as little power as it gives, it does deliver some noise. This one, the EP8 motor, the hallowed EP8 motor, of course, is so quiet, so amazing. When you're in eco mode or trail mode, which doesn't deliver a lot of power and torque, it's whisper quiet. So it is uncanny how quiet this motor is while at use. Now, the Shimano motors, the EP8 and EP8 RS, currently have an existing problem, which is when you're coasting, there is a knock. It does feel like there's two small ball bearings knocking around in there. So there's no denying, at coasting, this is dead quiet, and this has a little bit more noise. Battery range, 320 watt hours, and this one is 360. It can help you climb 3,500 to 5,000 feet, both of them, depending on how much you weigh and how much you want to help out. And that's about the range of a normal e-bike. So another factor is add-on battery. So how companies try to increase the range is by making batteries more modular. And what they have here is both water bottle style. So you can buy for $450 a extender battery that's 160 watt hours, and over here you can have for $600 an extended battery. Maybe this one will give you more range because the extended battery is just so much bigger. How do they handle? How is the geometry? This one, 150 has kind of a shock that's not as quite escapable. You know, it's a cross-country shock. It's in the travel is a little bit more linear. But the new S-Works one, they realized, has a DPX2, so you know, one of those reservoir shocks, and it's a lot more tunable. So that one gives you a little more support, a little more pop on that one. This one has a little more support in mid-stroke, so it's not quite as pillow-like, but a little more support. You can pop off things a little better. So I like this one better. It's a little more lively. In terms of geometry, this one has a little bit of an older geometry. So I think this one will be updated similar to the Stumpy Evo. So how it's old, so they're both about 65 or 66 degree head angle, 65 and a half and 66 degree head angle. But the seat angle of this is kind of old. So this one has a 76.5 on the slack setting and about a 65.5 on the slack setting, 66 and 77 on the normal setting. So definitely the seat angle on this is better. It gives you a better pedaling position. This one has a reach of 455 on the large, and this one has about a 474. So almost a 20 millimeter advantage on this one. You want a long reach bike these days, and not too much seat tube. So this one has a little bit more seat tube than you want, preventing your dropper post extension length. Chainstay, this one is a hair shorter. You know, 440, 445, I believe. The bottom bracket on this one is lower. Which one is the better bike between the two? We believe in terms of power and usability, the Orbea is the better bike. It allows you to keep momentum. It allows you to keep up with your full powered e-bike friends, and it allows you to compress time and do your long rides in a shorter time based on your schedule. In terms of geometry, suspension quality, rideability, we believe it goes to Orbea as well. It is a much more modern geometry with a steep seat angle, progressive suspension, and a long reach. In terms of pricing, that goes to the Orbea as well. 11,500 is quite a bit cheaper than the 14,500 of the Levo SL. As far as other factors are concerned, the Orbea Rise does have the motor knock of the EP8 RS when coasting, and that might bother some people. Another factor is the introduction of the Orbea Hydro series, the aluminum models, H10, H15, and H30. These are much more affordable bikes. The weight is very close, just a hair over 40 pounds, but they do sport a much bigger battery at 540 watt hours, and that's turning out to be one of our favorites. But really, our hats off to the Specialized, Levo SL, and the Orbea for starting this category. This is going to be the hottest category around because people want a second bike. There's some holdouts that are afraid of the weight, and there's a lot of new interesting products that are going to enter this market.